Click,
Do
click,
whatever we want.
boom. What is going on, faithfuls? It's your boys, Mike, Tony, and Mariah. We are here to bring you guys our grading the draft, the 49ers draft grade. This is going to be a really fun episode. All right, we're going to go over a couple of different things that happened since the 49ers made their draft picks. I heard someone got paid. I don't know. Maybe somebody got paid. I don't know. But we're going to break all that stuff down. Before we do, we have to get through just some of the formalities really quick, all right? So if it's your first time here, please do us a favor. Follow the instruction on the bottom of the screen. Hit that like button, subscribe, turn on your notifications so you know exactly when we are going live. Give us a follow on some of our social media platforms. We have Snapchat and X. Those handles are nothing but 9ERS. That is nothing but 9ERS, the number 9. You can also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitch. Those handles are nothing but Niners. That is spelled all the way out. And then we also have a Patreon page, patreon.com/NB9ERS. Today, we want you guys to follow some special instructions. You'll see them in the description of the show. But also, Mariah, let them know where to find you.
Faithfully in Vegas, YouTube, Twitch, X, wherever. Same place, same name, everywhere. Faithfully in Vegas. Appreciate y'all.
I love it. 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 And again, guys, today we have Mariah and Tony on here, and we're going to have a lot of fun. So here's what I'm going to do, man. I want to just go ahead and get to the breaking news because it looks like the Niners paid somebody. You guys have been waiting for this all off season, man, and it finally happened. Brock Purdy gets his extension, ladies and gentlemen. He is now the highest. Oh, wait a minute. Scratch that. You know what?
I know I've been under a rock, but what?
I need the record scratch sound. I need this. I got to find one of those sound effects. It was not Brock Purdy, guys. I was just kidding. But George Kittle gets his contract extension. Tony, man, this is something that you were calling me at like 6 in the morning to talk about, and I'm like, is this guy nuts? What happened, Tony?
Come on, man, stop. It was after.
I'm just trying to tell you. I'm telling you what it felt like. All right, maybe I still had some eye boogies in my eye. No, I was dealing with a lot and trying to get a car. But go ahead. Why don't you break down the contract? Actually, I'll pull up some information on the deal while we're talking about it as well. So, yeah, break down what you heard about it. He's officially the highest paid guy, right? $19.1 million a year average or something like that.
Yeah. So essentially, it's 4 years, 76 million, I think, off the top of my head. With 40 million guaranteed, 35 million is due at signing, and then 5 million is due at 2026. So basically, the notion of Jed York being cheap and doesn't want to spend cash is thrown out the window because he's pretty much paying the majority, about 95% of the guarantee when he signs his contract. So, it's a smart deal. I think it's cap friendly in structure, probably. I don't know the full breakdown of it, like what the numbers are, how many void years are on it, but it's something that needed to be done. George Kittle will be going up of 10-year players, and yeah, I'm glad it's finally done. And I think in order to get this done, I think the groundwork is pretty much laid out and set for Purdy's deal. It's just now the small things that they're negotiating to finalize that. Because in order to do this, they had to know what the type of structure Purdy's deal is going to be like, especially with paying $35 million up front. So it's going to be interesting when this all drops and comes together. And then I guess the next one up would be Fred Warner.
So you got $76.4 million guaranteed. Total contract extension. That 0.4 is obviously to make it that 19.1 average per year. But Mariah, $40 million guaranteed, more than 50% of it, but it's not the highest percentage ever. Does those numbers mean anything to you? Like, does it make you worry, oh, maybe this is just a 2 or 3 year deal, or do you think that that's just what the going rate was for a tight end right now?
I'm not worried. I don't know, obviously, the ins of this contract, but no, I'm not worried about it. I think he deserves to get paid that way. And there's very few players that I'll ever say this about.
Uh-oh. Did she go on mute? I think she went on mute. We like
the dogs are going crazy.
Sorry.
few players that I'll ever say this about, and that's that I can't ever like picture them like playing for another team or putting on another jersey. Like when I thought about Kittle and his extension, like the thoughts of him possibly even playing somewhere else, like made me sick to my stomach. Like I could not picture like him and Fred Warner are the two that jump off, for me. Like those are two guys that like have been pretty much everything for this franchise for the last how many years, like those are the guys, if you want to run a franchise right, you take care of. Like other players are watching how you treat these players that have been the heart and soul of this team. So shout out to Jed for actually doing it right. And no, I'm not worried.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. We had shameless plug here. We had George Kittle on
Baby.
his rookie season, and he was kind, he was open, and he was as sincere. What I thought maybe was an awkward young man, which he could still be an awkward adult, right? But it's like it was real. It was who he was. That level of sincerity was absolutely incredible. If you guys haven't seen the George Kittle interview that we had here when we first started Nothing But Niners, it's going to be terrible. Look at Tony showing off the goods over there. Hold on. Look at him showing off the goods over there. We see it. All right, buddy. Okay.
I was very worried before I looked up and I just heard Tony showing off the goods. Let me just tell you. But I'm glad to see it was just a Kittle jersey.
The draft weekend shenanigans are over. I think we're going to get back into being a pretty decent show now. So,
all right.
I don't know how short his shorts are today. Hopefully, we don't.
No Zoom.
We don't get any peaks down there. No, but Kittle's cool, right? I was talking to the guys in the group chat, or maybe it was just directly to Tony. I don't remember. But I said I feel like that George Kittle's kind of been the face of the franchise, not Brock Purdy, right? Not Fred Warner, not Trent Williams, hell, not even Kyle Shanahan. I think when you think of the 49ers and what they mean, I think you think of George Kittle, right? Yeah. He's got that goofy silliness to him, but he's good at everything, right? And then when he's banged up, when he's hurt, the team kind of suffers for it. Like he kind of encompasses everything that is this version of the 49ers, this regime's tenure here, where everyone counted us out from the moment he was drafted and where he was drafted, right? That just reflects on what people thought of the Niners when Kyle and John took over. And then to come in here and shock everybody so soon, so quickly. His big year was our big year and things like that. And so it kind of all just goes hand in hand. George Kittle is someone that you definitely want to see retire as a 49er. I share that same exact sentiment as Mariah. I never, ever want to see him playing somewhere else. I don't want to see him have one of those, what's the guy's name that was with the Eagles forever and then like just bounced around these last couple of seasons? It's not Selleck. Is it Selleck? It's not Selleck.
Oh,
what's the tight end's name?
Shit.
Oh,
Ertz.
And he even Ertz. He wins all these awards and all this shit, and they let him go. Like that's sick.
Yeah, like don't do that. It's a tight end, guys. Like if there's one position that you can afford to try to extend and keep, it's the tight end position. So hopefully,
and he's still playing good too, Ertz.
Yeah. Yep.
They let him go, and now look.
Well. Yeah. So that was the breaking news segment there. Let me ask you guys this before we, because we didn't discuss this ahead of time. How long do I have you guys for tonight?
Maybe about an hour
Not
for me.
5 hours, but yeah, probably about that too.
An hour. All right. Let's jump into the draft grades. Let's go ahead and do this. We're going to grade each individual player here, but what I want to do is we want to give our thoughts on the players individually. And then what we want to do is say what the faithful thought at the time of the selection. So, let's start grading the picks. We're going to have that scroll across the bottom of the screen, and then we'll go through them one by one. All right, and let's see what the faithful had to say at the time of the pick. And then maybe our opinions have changed since then. I know mine has on a couple of these guys. And so we'll see what the biggest one is. So let me see what we got here. So the first pick for the 49ers was pick 11, and they took defensive tackle Mikael Williams from Georgia. What were your guys' thoughts on that? And Mariah, you have the I was gonna say the scores, the grades over there.
Yeah. So the chat at the time of the pick, during the poll, 88% of the chat liked/loved the pick. So that's a pretty good number.
Yeah. All right. So 88 is a high B. That's a B plus. I mean, you are a fart away from getting a regular B, or you are an apple away from getting a B plus. Like, I mean, that is as good as it's gonna get in the B grade right there. Okay. So I liked it. Tony, now that you have some time to settle in, think about it, and see what the whole picture was. So this is the other thing, right? It's one thing to grade a pick in the moment, like as soon as it happens, right? This was day one, and that was all we did. How did you feel? The chat said 88. But now that we've had some time to step back and see what the Niners were building and how they anticipate these players being implemented into our system and how soon they can be implemented in our system, what do you think?
I stand by it. I love the pick. I love how they're going all in to stop the run, and developing these young guys to not only stop the run, to become pass rushers. Mikael Williams is the best 4-3 base defensive end and setting an edge in the draft, and he's being brought in to do just that. The perk about it is he offers you more than just a edge setter. Plays with a high motor, great hands. The get off he has. It's all promising things that you want. Age, he's still 20 years old. He's going to be 21. So the youth is there. He's hungry. He's got the work ethic. Plays through injuries. And this is what you want to see in this type of investment. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and sugarcoat it and say, "Oh, everyone's getting an A." I would like to give him an A, but I'm going to give him a B plus. Because of the productivity that was at Georgia, due to the way they played him and the snap counts that he had, I'm not going to say, "Oh, he's definitely an A," because we're all going this based off of projections. But knowing what I know about him, he is an A in my eyes. But just for this exercise, I'm going to give him a solid B plus, A minus, because I honestly feel he's going to be the bookend that they've been looking for since they drafted Nick Bosa.
Very well said. I like that. And I'm going to actually echo the same sentiments. And Mariah, I want to get your grade on it also after we take a step back. Again, we did this whole thing live, and I encourage you guys to go and fast forward to the point. Maybe I should probably do that and go to when they made the selection and put that in the description so people don't have to watch the whole thing, right? But we also had a lot of fun on camera, so you guys might want to just randomly put it on, something to go to sleep to at night. But after stepping back, all right, so when they made the pick, I was excited about it. Really, really good player. And I think what the Niners did, they kind of did a 2-for-1 here. This is a guy that can play the edge. In fact, when I was talking about him, I said they selected defensive tackle Mikael Williams. That's not his position. He's a defensive end, but he can kick inside to play defensive tackle. So, one, they go after an edge, which is our biggest need, and stopping the run, our biggest need on defense. And he's actually got some untapped pass rush potential. Did he have production at Georgia? Absolutely he did as a pass rusher. But like Tony said, the limited snaps, you could see that the focus was trying to get the best of both worlds. We're going to give him more opportunities. We're going to give him more reps, and we're going to train him up more. And then we can also kick him inside to come up with these special packages. That bumps this grade up to an A when you step back and look at how this team was focused on stopping the run at other positions, right? If you go out there and you get this guy and you think, all right, he can only do one thing, and then the Niners go wide receiver next, and then they go running back next, and then they go tight end next. It's like that one guy is not going to be enough to fix our issues on defense. But when you see the cumulative picks, I think that bumps this grade up a lot. And unfortunately, maybe some bias, it's going to do that a lot for me throughout the breakdown of these picks.
I couldn't, my thoughts exactly, because when we first made this pick and, just that pick alone, like, okay, yeah, B-ish, definitely fit a need, all the great stuff that you guys just said. I could echo everything you guys just said. But I think we know enough about the player by now. But once the 49ers then get down to the list and select Alfred Collins, and then get down the list and select CJ West, and it all starts coming together, that's when it's like you sit back and it's like, okay,
good luck.
I see what they're doing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's move this grade up a little bit. So,
Right.
yeah, as B plus, A minus,
Hmm.
definitely an area of need, and I'm feeling a lot better about that D line after this draft.
Absolutely. And that's going to take us to our next pick. So the second pick, number 43 overall, was defensive tackle. All right. I'm saying it the right way this time, Tony. Don't kill me. Um, Alfred Collins from Texas. Um, Tony, let's start with you. And then Mariah, if you want to go next, if there's anything that's any different for you. What were your thoughts on him? I think that during the time, oh no, actually, we're going to start with Mariah because she has a grade. So let's say what the chat said. At the time of the pick, I think that there were some defensive tackles that people preferred over him available on the board. So that's what makes it interesting.
So the chat at the time voted 92% loved this pick.
So they gave it an A minus.
That was our second highest grade out of the entire draft from the
Yeah,
chat.
and you'd be surprised where the highest one came in. That's funny. So, Tony, what were your thoughts on this? And do you recall what defensive tackles you maybe would have preferred at that point in time?
Well, all I know is I think this is one of the many scenarios in this draft where the Niners got beat to the punch with a prospect. If I recall off the top of my head, I think Buffalo traded right in front of San Francisco and took T.J. Sanders from South Carolina. Then the Niners, at their selection, took Alfred Collins. So I like him. There's one thing that just I have a pet peeve about defensive tackles being over 6'4". In this situation, this is the one thing that it just doesn't sit with me well with guys that tall with the potential of playing with extremely high pad level. But it seems like he does not often play with high pad level. He's powerful. It's very long arms, wide wingspan, passes down. These are all things that you want. Right now, he's coming in, I think, as a first and second down player. He's going to have to prove to keep himself on the field for third down and be a full-time starter, because I don't see he's just going to have to prove it at this level to be a full-time starter. But he'll definitely be down there on first and second downs to start the season without a doubt. And like we said from the beginning, this team sold out this year, and their main objective was stop the run. Not only stop the run, but become a lot more physical and stronger inside instead of being pushed around, continuously playing and play out versus the run like they were last season. So improving versus the run, becoming a lot more physical and stronger inside. They came in with a goal. It seems like they addressed all their goals, and it's very encouraging to see it that they're waking up and seeing where their issues are.
Yeah, Mariah, did you want to add anything before I go?
You can go.
All right. Sean has a super chat here. This is our first super chat of the night. And
Shout out,
it's specifically
Sean.
about this one. He says, we haven't had someone like Alfred Collins since Justin Smith. And so I wanted to echo Tony's sentiment, right? As we go through and start watching a lot of the highlights of the players that the Niners selected along the defensive line and even the linebacker, you see these guys beating double and triple teams. And still getting after, making the stop and run plays, getting after the quarterback, getting a hand up, causing interceptions and things like that. And so this Collins pick, to echo what Sean is saying here, I remember Justin Smith doing things similar to that. Now, Justin Smith played in the 3-4. And so there was often times where he was double teamed, damn near every time. He was infamous for hooking a guy's shoulder and allowing the stunt to go and things like that. And so I like the comparison or the super chat here from Sean. Thank you very much. When it comes to the Texas tackle, defensive tackle Alfred Collins here, and I'm just thinking about watching our first two picks constantly beating double and triple teams. When it was called for, and just still being impacting the play. This is going to be a special line, and we might not see all the results in year one. I want to remind everybody that this is a rookie class. These guys don't play 14, 15, 16, 17 games in the season, you know? So we might have to really work that rotation more. These guys might be starters, and I'm talking about first snap of the game, but they could very well be rotational. It's going to be important that the Niners go out and continue to build a good defensive line, a supporting cast for these guys, so they can go ahead and grow in their roles here. I gave this one a B plus when it's all said and done, but again, the chat gave it an A, and I'm not mad at anyone who thinks that this was an A also. So that was a very, very good one. Anything else on them before? Oh, and Tony, just to remind, to let you know, but you were correct. Buffalo traded up with Chicago, not the pick directly before, but the one before that. So we picked 43. They traded up to 41 with Chicago, and they took. I had it here somewhere. Which one of these pages did I have it on? They took T.J. Sanders from South Carolina, the Gamecock, and we did talk about him being a potential person during the process if he made it down that far. So good memory there on that, Tony. All right. The next one that we have here is our first pick in round 3, and that was linebacker Nick Martin from Oklahoma State. Mariah, what was the fan take on this one?
So chat at the time of the pick gave him at 85% love it.
All right. Tony, did you feel that
solid
strongly
B
at the time? And how do you feel about it now?
I was very high on Nick Martin. I just think he went a little bit higher than what the Niners took him. But then, hey, listen, I see like a couple people saying in the chat how they graded this draft poorly for the 49ers because some random people are saying, oh, he was an undrafted free agent. He was a 7th round grade. I'm not trying to be rude or disrespectful, but who the freak cares what other people think? It's what the 49ers think. They set their board. They rank their players on what they feel. I had him as a 4th/5th round prospect. He went in the third round. It went one round up in my eyes. One round up. That is not saying like, oh my God, what a reach. But the thing is, you want to identify players that are going to be playing in your system, that fit your system. Then you take the guy there, and why risk it? Because some could say, well, the Niners missed out on all these DTs because, whether they didn't move up or whether they took this over that. It is what it is. This is part of the draft. So you rank your people the way you feel they can contribute to your team. And the 49ers at 75 thought Nick Martin was a solid pick to contribute to their defense and potentially be the 3rd starting linebacker in his defense. Now, away from where he went and all that stuff, the guy is the best run and hit linebacker in the draft. He'll chase you all around the field. He plays with high intensity. He raps. He's a great pass rusher. If you go back to 2023, where he had, off the top of my head, I think he had like 130 plus tackles. I think he had 6 or 7 sacks. A couple passes defended, I think an interception. He had injury this year, so he missed, I think, 6 games. But when he played that fully healthy year, man, he was all over the field. All over the field. And everyone's saying, well, he looks a little light. Well, Dre Greenlaw was a safety at Arkansas when the 49ers drafted him. They moved him to a linebacker. And this is essentially what's going on here, except for Nick Martin was a linebacker at Oklahoma State. So what they're doing is Saleh's bringing his defense in. I think it's going to be a little bit different than what the traditional Robert Saleh defense is with Gus Bradley there. And by showing the 2 defensive tackles, well, hold on. We'll talk about that one later. But the 2 defensive tackles and the 1 defensive end that they brought in, that tells me they're going to sway this to more of a Seattle-based scheme up front. So with that being said, Nick Martin, excellent fit for what they're looking to do. I like him. He flies around, makes plays, and he's physical. And that's what this defense is looking for since the loss of Dre Greenlaw. I was just trying to think of the right word.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I completely understand what you're saying. Now, what's interesting about the Nick Martin pick, he was the first linebacker to come off the board in the 3rd round, but he was the 4th in the entire draft. So that means that the Niners had him ranked pretty high at his position. It's not like there was a run on linebackers or anything. And for whatever reason, they didn't want a chance going all the way down to 100 and missing out on him. they saw something in him that they really, really liked. And I'm going to tell you guys something right now. I didn't know much about him at the time. I wasn't overly happy with the pick or anything like that. It was just like, all right, let's look and see. But again, after you go out and we've had time to look at these guys and watch some film on them, you can see why they did it. Like Tony broke down, when he was healthy, he was everywhere that you want to be, like a Visa, right? So it was pretty cool. At the time, I was like, we'll see, literally see, right? But you go back, and now you go back to understanding what they were building here. And I'm going to give this one a B- right now, but it's not a bad thing. It doesn't mean that he's not going to be the best linebacker on the team in a couple of years, right? That's not to say that he's not that. It's just what we see right now and how we think it's going to apply to the system. Again, you want these guys to go out there and really focus on it. Tony, after the Niners and Mariah, after the Niners made that pick of a linebacker, another one didn't come off the board for the rest of this round. Do you think that means the Niners would have been able to get him later? Ooh, did they reach because there were no linebackers? Or do you think he would have been gone by then if he was still out there? I know we'll never know, but what do you guys think?
Good, Mariah.
I have no freaking clue.
Right.
But I'm not with the whole reach thing because exactly like Tony said, why are we caring more about what Joe Schmo fucking says than what the 49ers say? This is supposed to be the team we're loving, we're fans of, and yet now we're pissed off at them because Bob Billy John says, oh, they reached on this player. Who gives a shit? As long as he's here, he fits a need, he's worth a shit, he makes the team. Can we start there? We can't just draft all these players and half of them wouldn't even make the team. If we followed, what everybody else wants. So another need checked off the board. So, hey.
Yeah, and then you go back and you can find all kind of special stats that put these guys up high, PFF rankings and things like that against the run, and they end up grading out some of the best in the nation at some certain categories that the Niners clearly need, and so I like it. I've never been a person that says, oh, well, he's probably going to be available, let's just wait on him. No, if you see that guy and you think that he can be an immediate contributor to your team, you go out and get him. I don't care if it's a kick returner. I know that's going to sound crazy, right? But if they found a kick returner that they wanted desperately, then you go out there and get it. And in the pressers, Kyle mentions one of the players that we drafted, and they said, we think he's going to be a kick returner for us, even though the guy only had a handful of kick returns, but they were successful ones. You know what I mean? I think it was well, we'll get to it later. But yeah, so good pick for the Niners here. I want to try to speed this up because we got a couple more to go through, and I don't want this to take all night long. I like the pick overall here. The next one was, all right, here we go. Round 3, pick 100, and this was Upton Stout, the cornerback from Western Kentucky. Oh, man. All right, so what did the fans say about this one?
All right, so this one we did 2 polls on because this was the last pick of the night, and so that poll didn't get a chance to even run, and it didn't have enough votes. So we just took, we're just going to take the average of both polls. So he got 66% loved it. And then on the other poll, 84% loved it. So you average those together and it's a 75%.
There you go. 75% was a solid C right there. I mean, that's as solid of a C as you can get if it's not a vitamin. So that's what I'm talking about right there. Tony, man, give us your breakdown on him now that we've had some time to look at him. What do you think here?
I mean, my thing with him, it's not the way he plays. It's not his skill set. It's not how he's wired. My thing is just the size issue with him. He's not the biggest. And if you see a guy usually in the 5'8" range, you want him to be 5'8", yeah, but he's 185 and he's stocky and he's thick, and he could, fill the run fits on the outside as a nickel corner. But when you're listed as barely 180 pounds at the combine, I think he was at the combine because his pro day he was more, but he didn't test out there. So what's the true weight he's going to play at? That's what I need to know, because if you're going to go in at 175, barely 180, that's a lot of pounding, and how much could his frame hold up to that level? 5'8" and a 3/4 or 5'8.5", whatever he is. I would love to see him around the 5'10" range, maybe coming in at 190, 185. If we're talking that type of number, yeah, now you're talking about, a legit NFL frame and a legit size of an NFL corner. Just a little bit small statue and a little bit too light. I like the way he plays though. There's no knock. There's no doubt on that. He is physical. He likes to tackle. He likes to hit. He's wired the right way. Everyone was coached, and how many times he said, "Let's get it, coach," on the phone call that they broadcasted. So I mean, it is what it is. Trey Berry, yes, he was 188 at his pro day, where he did not work out. So to me, if he weighed in a lot less at the combine, that's a flag to me, because why did he weigh in less then where he worked out, but he came in heavier when he didn't work out? So what is the weight he's going to truly play at once he's working out and playing week in and week out in summer camp on a regular basis? Is he going to hover around 180? Is he going to play around 185? Because he sure shit ain't going to play at 188, in my opinion. Because you know what I'm saying? Like, you play a game, you're going to shed weight, water weight. It's automatic you're going to drop 3 pounds. So I just wish his stature and frame was a little bit bigger. But as far as the player individually, the skill set, I like the way he plays.
Yeah, there's a lot to like when you actually start watching him. Sorry, just kind of threw me off for a second. I do like the way that he plays. And, Tony, there's a lot of players that go into the combine weighing less, hoping to run a little bit faster, hoping to jump a little bit further, So we see those kind of things all the time. The play weight is going to be a thing. But what that tells me is this: the light frame tells me that, and this is what I like the most about this. So I bumped my personal grade up on this pick as a B. And that's because this young man, if he's going to be light, it means that he's not going to be on the field all the time. They're not looking to use him as an outside guy, but more in the slot. And that way they don't have to take Mooney, listen to me. They don't have to take Deommodore Lenoir off of the team's top guy, right? This gives them the opportunity to either let him shadow or commit him to the outside, and then now you have a guy that you can come in here and plug into the slot if you need to right away. One of interesting stat for him is over the past 2 seasons, he didn't allow a touchdown to the nearest defender in coverage in 409 snaps. You know what I'm saying? So he's a small guy, but he's sticky in coverage, and he also is going to probably be someone who will take some special team snaps as well.
He's definitely going to. He makes this roster. Yeah. He's definitely playing special teams. There's no doubt about it.
Right. So that's what I liked about everything with him. It gives us a little bit of flexibility, and if you have to plug him in, he's a sticky guy. Again, no touchdown allowed in 2 seasons, and 409 coverage snaps. That's pretty impressive for anybody in college. So I like it. Now, 409 snaps on defense isn't a lot, in my opinion, but those are specifically coverage snaps. So, and then they said he was targeted only 8 times last season. When I see something like that, it's like, well, what does that mean? Like, teams weren't looking his way, or they were looking his way, and he was just right there, dick to hip, or whatever the phrase is, hip to hip, dick to hip. He just took quarterbacks' eyes off of him and his target that quick, and that's a really, really good thing. All right. So I gave that one a B. I like that pick for him. The next one that we had here was round 4, pick number 113, and that was defensive tackle C.J. West from Indiana. Here we are back into the trenches again. This was probably our favorite Jed tweet of the weekend here. It's like, all right, let's change it up a bit. Oh, wait a minute. Robert Saleh just came back in again, right? It's like, never mind. What are we thinking here? What did the chat think at the time of this pick, Mariah?
So this was the chat's highest graded pick. 94% loved it. 94.
Yeah. See, right? And like stuff like that makes you feel good. It's like, uh-oh, somebody must see something in him that they like. Like, why did everyone all of a sudden love it? You know what I mean? Yeah, shout out to Eric Crocker, right? Per Eric
because
Crocker,
you'll see after this grade that it wasn't like the chat was just being overly like, we love everything, because the next few grades are bad. So it wasn't that. So they really did like it.
Yeah. Tony, go ahead and let's get your thoughts on him here. C.J. West, defensive tackle.
I absolutely love it. I think he is a phenomenal addition to this defensive front. This is part of the philosophy of getting bigger, stronger, faster, more tougher inside. Part of what I said before. I think both these guys could two gap. Are they going to change their philosophy up front, or are they going to stay in single gaps? So I mean, I don't know. They might have something up their sleeve on base downs, and then wide and third and long situations is when they'll put in the wide nine. But these two dudes up front are, if they can click and play off each other, which I think they could, it's going to be freedom. Like Fred Warner and those linebackers are going to fly all over the place and make plays like crazy. They're going to be free, unlike last year where guards were getting to the second level and hitting them, and blocking them, and sealing them off. That's not going to happen this year with these two dudes up front. They're both physical. They're both twitchy. They're both strong as shit with wingspans. It's just, I'm glad that they finally realized, like, all right, we got to do something because the undersized dudes aren't going to do it. Now, on the other hand, you add these two monsters inside. All those guys that were supposed to be penciled in as starters this year, they go to the second tier now. Now you're going to sprinkle those guys in a rotation with these guys. So the guys that you were banking on to be your starters this year, they're going to be coming in fresh off the bench, fresh legs in a rotation. And they're going to have opportunities to make names for themselves too now because the pressure's not all on them. Evan Anderson, an undrafted free agent that we signed and gave him almost $300,000 fully guaranteed. Who's the other dude that we signed from Cleveland? Not McGuire, Elliott. We signed Elliott from Cleveland. There's a tweener between a run stuffer and just a more bigger defensive tackle. Then you could have Samson. This guy. All right, so basically. They improved their depth and they became a lot better, more physical up front between the tackle position on this line.
Yeah. So I'm wondering if we kind of swayed the chat with their voting in this one, right? Because this is when we all of a sudden realize, holy crap, this is the first time since 1981 that they picked 5 defensive players. And what happened in 1981, right? That was the year that the Niners won the Super Bowl. We started drawing those comparisons. I don't remember how far into the voting we were when we made that comparison. So is that why they gave it the 94? I don't know, but we all got really excited when we realized that this team was invested heavily in the defense. I mean, and this is the point in time where we were pounding the table. It's got to be an offensive lineman. It's got to be a guard. It's got to be a tackle. It's got to be a center. Right, there's got to be some offensive help here, but no, they decided to go 5 for 5 defensive side of the ball, and we immediately went to 1981. Right, we started pulling up the stats from 81 and what the team did and all that, and it was special. Right now, that 1981 team, they added Ronnie Lott, John Hardy, Eric Wright, Carlton Williamson, and Lynn Thomas. Right, are these guys going to be that caliber? Well, I think it's a possibility. I think you can get 2 really, really good guys in here, like Ronnie Lott, Eric Wright are the 2 names that are standing out to me on this list. But it's like Lynn Thomas, John Hardy. Like, where do they fall? Tony, how much do you remember about that defense and those 5 players from back then? Like, how many of them were like the man on the field?
I don't remember off the top of my head, but all I do know is I think they got their whole secondary in that draft, minus one guy. I think they got 3 quarters of their secondary in that draft.
And an interesting tidbit for CJ West. This guy posted 52 stops at or behind the line of scrimmage since 2021. And that was the most for FBS defensive tackles in that span. The most.
Wow.
Not top 5, not top 10. 52 stops at or behind the line of scrimmage
We
since
need that.
2021. I mean, come on, man. How does that not get you excited? And again, when you look at the Niners' weaknesses going into this draft, I'm getting goosebumps just talking about it. That's got to give you guys some hope. And now you're understanding the picture that this team was putting together for us as faithful. It was just absolutely, absolutely incredible. And so, again, I liked it. I liked it a lot. I liked it even more when we step back and look at what we were doing and building collectively. All right. The next one that we have here is round 4, pick number 138, wide receiver from Ole Miss, Jordan Watkins. Let's talk about the votes. Here we go. This is when it's going to get out.
Chat. At the time, maybe still, we'll see. Um, 71% loved it. The lowest C that you could possibly get.
Yeah.
71.
Now, I want to put this out here. There were a lot of trades from teams right before the Niners picked. So at pick 137, there was a trade. At pick 136, there was a trade. At 135, there was a trade. At 134, there was a trade. At 132, there was a trade. At 131, there was a trade. At 130, there was a trade. 128, 127, 126. There was a lot of movement going on, and there's no telling who the Niners actually had their hands or their eyes on, I should say. And then all of a sudden, it's like, all right, they go out and get Jordan Watkins here.
If I had to bet, it was the Stanford receiver.
The Stanford receiver went to the Titans.
Two picks before them.
Yeah, 2 picks before them, and they traded with Baltimore to acquire this young man. So the Stanford receiver was 6'2", 206 pounds, and we ended up selecting a guy 5'11", 196. So what did you say the grade was again for that, Mariah?
71.
71. Okay, so we got to see a low C. All right, Tony, what are your thoughts here?
Solid player. I mean, he really seemed to be the guy at Ole Miss when what's his name needed to make a play, Jackson Dart. He always depended on him. He always went to him in key situations. Had one hell of a game versus Arkansas, who actually had a pretty solid defense. Off the top of my head, 8 catches, 250 for 5 touchdowns. You know, this is SEC competition. There's no slouches, but you know, the productivity, you saw flashes of it. You see his speed, 4.37. It's not a guy that just runs in a straight line. He does know how to create the separation. He knows how to run some routes. Is it a strict NFL route? NFL tree routes he's running? There's some in there, but not all of them. But we'll see. But the question is, we all know how Kyle is with wide receivers that are rookies. So what are we looking at here? Is he going to be, out? Is he going to be sitting on the bench because Kyle wants his receivers to do X, Y, and Z? I don't know. Is he going to get the Cowing treatment, the IU treatment, all those guys? We got to see. But the one positive thing is Ayuk is hurt. He's not going to be back until probably like October-ish around, we'll say. And he could have an opportunity. We don't know. But it's a solid pick. I'm not going to go crazy over it. You see why he was drafted. But it's just wide receivers with Kyle. It's a tough evaluation.
That's a good breakdown there. What I want to add to it is this. So this was obviously our first offensive selection here, and it was at the wide receiver position. It's like, I wonder why they're doing that. But then you got to step back, like Tony said. Brandon Ayuk is coming off of the injury. Demarcus Robinson is facing a potential suspension to start the season. We don't quite know how that's going to play out. And Jauan Jennings is going into the last year of his deal. So the Niners are looking for depth at the wide receiver position. And we have seen guys hang around the team that don't really ever get on the field. Not saying that Watkins won't, but I think that they're going to have to, like Tony said, like Kyle is very particular about the rookie wide receivers getting opportunities, right? We didn't really see Pearsall break out until, the last 6-7 games of the season, right? And we didn't see anything as far as breaking out from, what's my man's name? The other wide receiver from this draft class. Cowing, right. We didn't really see anything from Cowing, right? But I can see the Niners playing Cowing more just to see what they have, playing Jordan Watkins more just to see what they have, because they have to be comfortable with letting Jauan Jennings go at the end of the season. And so that could kind of force their hand to get these guys out there and just manufacture some opportunities for them. Now, here's one of the positive things about Jordan Watkins. This young man, he tied the SEC for the most touchdown receptions in 2024 with 9 touchdowns. So take it for what it's worth. There's nothing phenomenal. Speed and 9 touchdowns in 2024, again, tying the SEC. And I think we all are pretty happy with what SEC wide receivers bring to the NFL. So some potential there. If I had to give it a grade right now, I would give this one like a C, a solid C. And that's literally let's see what he can bring to the table. I'm not going to be down on him. I doubt that I'm going to give any grades lower than a C tonight, except for maybe one, but we'll see. I think I'm going to surprise you guys with the one that I'm going to give a grade lower than a C.
Uh-oh.
All right. Anything else on Jordan Watkins before we move on to our 5th round selection here?
Just real quick, I think the reason why a lot of people from what I saw reading the chat were mad was because, like you said, we have been banging the table. O-line, this got to be O-line. This one has to be O-line. This one has to be O-line. No, defense, 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 defense. We finally make an offensive pick, and then it's wide receiver. Like, really? There's no O-line? So
Right.
that's why, of course, people are still mad at all the picks because none of them were O-line.
See, but
And I get it, but
the problem is this, Mariah. At pick 100, where they took Stout the corner, the Raiders took 2 tackles back to back at 98 and 99. I think honestly, the 49ers are going to get Grant at 100, the kid from William and Mary. They brought him in for a 30 visit. They met with him multiple times on multiple occasions, and allegedly they were high on him. So, like, the fan base can't be mad because they didn't get a tackle. They don't have the luxury just to take a tackle, right? And it all stems from the original question that we all asked everybody. Can they start a fielding 4 for a starting defensive line? The answer is no. Could they start a fielding 5 for an offensive line? The answer was yes. So clearly that shows where the decision making and the game plan was drawn up to attack and build this defensive line back to where it should be, or even potentially better than what it was. So the notion of, they don't want it, they neglect. No, they're not neglecting because they have 5 starters. They might not be up to everyone's caliber and what they want, but just let's pump the brakes 1 second because this offensive line was in the Super Bowl. Don't forget that. They were in a Super Bowl. Banks isn't there no more. Feliciano wasn't there. Feliciano went out. Burford came in off the bench cold, got beat for the sack. But the majority of this offensive line was in a Super Bowl. Don't forget that. Now they got 2 adjustments they got to make at the 2 guards. We'll see what they do with that. But, it's not as bad as what people are making. They're like it's like Panic City. Yes,
Yeah.
there's an injury you have to work. You have to worry, but
the other teams in the NFL would be in that same situation. If their starting left guard went out, they'd be worrying too, or their starting right tackle went out.
Everyone keeps saying, well, look what Philadelphia, the line that the Eagles got extremely lucky with their left tackle, who was a 7th round pick.
Yeah.
Okay. They got extremely lucky with that guy, and they paid him. Lane Johnson, they had forever. They just kept resigning him, and the other guys were 3rd, 2nd, 3rd round picks, maybe a 4th round pick thrown in there. So, I mean, why is the notion, you need a 1st round pick? No, you don't. You got to stick to your board. Who's the best player for position of need? And that's how these teams do it. I don't give a shit what Mel Kiper, McShay, this, that say. I don't care. The 49ers make their board. Nobody else.
Yeah, and so this is what it's going to be. I see a lot of people saying that the Niners have drafted one of the worst in this regime's era. But this regime is not good at drafting overall, and that's league. I think people really don't know how bad other teams draft. I really, really think that, especially when someone comes off the board that you wanted your team to get and now they don't get them. So now you're immediately angry at the next pick, right? So right before this pick, I said, is it possible we go defensive line and get Farmer? I don't know if you guys remember Joshua Farmer, the defensive tackle from Florida State, was there. And I was like, we might want to do that. We might want to do that, right? Let's just go ahead and solidify it because if it's not going to be offense, you get him. And boom, he was one of the highest graded defensive tackles available. And in case you guys don't remember, guess what happened right before the Niners picked? You guessed it, Seattle traded with New England, and they took Joshua Farmer right there at that position. And so I'm not saying that that's where the Niners were going to go, but it happened. And so you kind of get stuck with, going for, like Tony said, a really good breakdown there. I'm not going to touch on it more, of you can't just go out there and get desperate. We were going to get a tackle. We were going to get that tackle. Let's just take another one now. Well, no. That's not the case. And we'll come back to that later. I know there's some questions about the DJ Humphries thing. We're going to touch on that later. I promise you guys we're going to get to that. So don't think that we're ignoring the chat or anything like that. We are on it. I promise you. All right. The next pick here. All right. We went offense back to back, ladies and gentlemen, huh? Running back from Oregon with pick number 47, Jordan James. Another James from Oregon at the running back position here. Mariah, what did the chat think at the time of this signing?
Well, chat, you guys did not love this pick. 65% loved it. 65%. One of our lowest grades.
It's
not the lowest.
It's a passing grade. It's a D, right? You don't fail your courses for that. But it wasn't the best grade at all here. Running back from Oregon, Tony, what thoughts did you have on this young man?
I mean, I really didn't know too much about him other than he's like, he's like a 4-5 back. He's got good contact balance and lean and stuff like that. He's a hard runner. He's one cut downhill runner. He catches the ball out of the backfield. Pretty much simplistic stuff. But honestly, I think this is the perfect situation where they drafted one and the undrafted free agent could be better than him. The kid Kinder from Cincinnati is a damn good running back, and it's like kind of like odd that he did not go get drafted. So I'm just kind of like, but I'm not knocking this kid. I like what he did at Oregon. He's a more bigger physical than the last James that we got from Oregon, the Michael James. And listen, Frank Gore put his name to this kid. So maybe he saw something that we're not privy to, but I mean, we'll see.
Yeah, and another Jed tweet that we all kind of laughed at. If you're good enough for a future Hall of Famer to give the thumbs up to, and I'm paraphrasing because I don't have it verbatim in front of me. But then it's like, oh, so we're going running back here, right? Like, all right, here we go. And we knew it. We immediately started trying to find out what running back it was going to be. Then they announced it. It was Jordan James. This young man finished third overall in Big Ten rushing last season. And that's, going to put his name in some eyes. It's going to put his name in the headlines for a lot of teams drafting the running back position. Was this a position of need? I would venture to say yes, right? Christian McCaffrey is coming back, and we are hoping, he's saying, I'm knocking on wood over here, he's saying that he's completely healthy. I personally like Christian McCaffrey returning off of an injury. I like what he does historically. And so I think we're in line for a good year. And this is also going to give us some depth here now. So someone else to run behind Christian McCaffrey and Isaac Orindo, who I think are going to be your 1 and 2 coming out the gate. And that's in running back Jordan James. Any other thoughts on him before we move on to pick 160? Nope. We're good? All right. Round 5, pick 160 was quarterback Marcus Siegel. I'm learning that it's pronounced Siegel. All right. Now, I could be wrong, but when I went back and watched the tapes and all that stuff, they were saying, oh, Marcus Siegel. I thought it was Sigel. I thought it was Sigil. I'm going to say Siegel until I hear him say his own name, and I'm going to go later on Patreon, and we're going to do the individual players' conversations with the team, and we're going to do the presser breakdown and all that stuff. Kansas State, Mariah, what did the fans feel about this one?
Chat, 87% loved this pick at the time. So pretty good high B there.
All right, Tony, why on earth do they love it, and what do you think about him?
Reading up on him after we drafted him, watching him, I kind of like this pick, and I'm going to tell you why. He, along with getting more physical, more bigger and physical in this draft, they got a lot more faster as a whole team. Another 4.37 guy. Okay, I think this kid potentially can play center field. The deep safety. He doesn't back down. He's a tackler. What he has to learn, it seems like, if he's gonna be a single high safety, it might be angles, because at Kansas State he played like deep 2, cover 2, and he played on the side. I mean, he played all over the secondary. He gives you that versatility, which is huge. Because now if there's an injury on the outside, he can slide over and just jump in for a couple reps until he find out what's going on. But he also can play the nickel, so that's odd. So, do they want the smaller statue guy? Did they specifically draft for the nickel? Do they want a more bigger physical guy? If they want to go big nickel, they're giving themselves versatility and options for this defense. But I'm telling you, I think this kid can contribute early, not only on special teams, but I think he can contribute in defense, especially now with the rumors that just happened after the draft involving Mustafa not being ready for the season due to an ACL injury. So it's going to be interesting to see how this all plays out. But I really like the Siegel kid, and I think he could have a role on this team.
Yeah, you touched on what my highlight was going to be for him, and that was the 4.37 40. Right, the Niners were talking about getting faster on the team in general. They said they wanted to get younger, they wanted to get faster, and they wanted to stop the run. Those were their focuses going into this draft, and I'll be damned if they didn't do it. This is the second defensive back that they took that can play the slot. Now, this young man is also a safety, and I agree with Tony, right? How many times last year do we see Jair Brown getting burned? Right, just completely out of place when he had to play free safety. Talanoa Hufanga getting burned, completely out of place playing free safety and not having the makeup speed to even, try to slow someone down. That's not going to be the issue with this kid. It's not just one of those 4.37s that shows up at the combine. When you put the film on, you can see the speed. You can see that he knows how to take the pursuit angles and all that already. Is he the best safety in this entire draft? I wouldn't go that far to say anything like that. I mean, for crying out loud, he's a fifth-round pick, right? But it's something that is going to fill a need, and this is going to go back to what I said about our other corner. This is going to give us an opportunity to make sure that we're putting Diamadou Lenoir in the position that we need him to be. Put him on the most dangerous player every time, and you don't have to throw him into the slot because we don't have another slot guy that can play in there. And like what Tony was saying, you got that injury to Mustafa that none of us really knew about until after, right? Mm-hmm. This is the team keeping things under wraps until the time is right. Because if that news got out earlier, guess what's going to happen? A lot of trade-ups in front of the 49ers when they go to make this pick. Now, when it comes to trade-ups that happen prior to this pick, the 49ers were leapfrogged, and this was an actual trade here, actually. So we traded with New Orleans, who got the original pick, from Washington. They traded up to get this guy. They traded up to get this guy. So that says something to me here. What was it about him that they saw? An edge guy came off of the board before him, and again, every pick going back to the start of this round was a trade. Every single pick was a trade going here. So there were corners that came off of the board. The Eagles took the UCF guy, Mac McWilliams. He came off of the board there. He's the only other secondary player that came off the board from a trade. Was that possibly the target? I don't know, but the Niners decided to go running back. He was the first running back to come off the board in the 5th round. So I don't know. Here's what I do know. In the next 5 picks, 2 more running backs came off. Jadon Blue was one that went to the Cowboys. I know some people were saying we probably could have got him. And DJ Giddens was another guy from Kansas State that I saw mocked to the 49ers by a lot of fans and a lot of content creators. DJ Giddens coming off of the board to the 49ers in the 5th round here. But the Niners passed on those guys for a reason in order to get this guy. He's a tough, powerful runner and a low center of gravity. He puts his foot in the ground, and he's got some really, really good speed to shuffle through traffic. All right, he breaks tackles in space, makes defenders miss. He's a competitive pass blocker who identifies the assignments early. That's one thing that the Niners really, really, really care about in backs, right? We've seen Garindo have to come off the field because he was a liability in identifying the pass rusher or identifying the person you're supposed to pick up. That is the exact opposite of Jordan James. He's someone that can identify his assignment early on in the snap, and he can take advantage of it. So that was something that I was not upset about seeing. All right. Anything else on Jordan James? Wait, am I early? Did I
You're
not put
like
the Georgia
skipping
State?
back and forth between two picks. I don't know.
Oh shit! I am so sorry. I am so sorry. We're supposed to be talking about Siegel. I
Hmm.
apologize. Um, damn. Why did I go all the way back? What the hell am I doing? I am in the twilight zone. Sorry about that, guys. You guys have to ignore me on that one. I'm trying to like shuffle a lot of stuff over here, so ignore everything I just said. Who cares about what I just said? Forget it. But that was the last pick in the 5th round, Marcus Siegel. And then now we're going to go to this pick here. Everybody's favorite pick, Curtis Rourke, the quarterback from Indiana. Ladies and gentlemen, let's make some noise for the best pick in the entire draft right here. Curtis Rourke. Y'all should have told me to shut up a long time ago. I'm just over here rambling on about the about the pick. So, all right, guys, the quarterback. What did the chat think, Mariah? Here we go. Let's talk about it. Now, the Niners have 4 quarterbacks in their room. Let's talk about it.
So, chat really hated this pick. The worst graded pick of the entire draft, 37%. And real quick, I'll just give my little spiel on it. The thing that pissed me off the most, and like I'm trying to not take my anger out like on the players that we actually picked, right? So like I don't want to not like the kid. Like it has nothing to do with him. But the fact that we're drafting a hurt quarterback when we have areas of need that still need to be filled on the team, like that could help players that could help our team this season. Like this kid cannot contribute to this next year's team whatsoever. Maybe he does 2, 3, 4, 10 years down the line. Maybe. Or maybe not. Maybe it was just a waste of a fucking pick. But I know for damn sure he ain't helping this team next season. And that's why I'm the most pissed off about it.
Yep. I hear you. Tony, man, what do you call him? The Red Rocket or something like that? The Red Rifle? What are you calling him?
Maple Missile.
Maple Missile.
It's a nickname.
That is his nickname.
I hear you. And this is I had a little bit of fun with this during the draft. I called my buddy who is over in Indiana and I was like, hey, what's your thoughts on Curtis Rourke? And he was like, who? Click, hung up. Prove my rocket point right there. That was it. He's this guy, the Maple Missile, whatever you want to call him, rocket missile, Scud missile. I was like, what are we talking about here? Why didn't we get my guy? And I was
Scud
flipping
missile.
out all over it. Tony, man, what were your thoughts, man? And how do you feel about it after some time settling down?
I mean, it's a 7th round pick, right? We could have took somebody else at positional need. I just think, I mean, they see something in this kid. And what I saw in him, watching him after we drafted him, the kid's got a very strong arm, and he's pretty damn accurate with the ball. He threw for, I don't know the total off the top of my head. I think 30 touchdowns and 5 interceptions on a torn ACL. Mm-hmm. That's pretty impressive to play through a torn ACL with a knee brace on. Is he perfect? He's far from perfect. I'm not going to sit here and blow smoke up his ass. But I think the Niners are looking at as obviously a red shirt candidate to try to develop him off the field and in the classroom to get the knowledge of the offense and then come in 2026 and compete with Mordecai for a backup role. And if he develops, being that you did sign Mac Jones to a 2-year contract, if there is a QB needy team that's willing to trade for Mac Jones, you have a talented quarterback in your room right now that potentially you can move on from Mac Jones and get compensation in return for a guy that you just signed as a 2-year deal to be the backup to Brock Purdy. So it's not definite that's how it's going to go down. Obviously, we don't know, but it's just an option, right? Is he going to be a starter? We don't know, but Brock Purdy is the face of this franchise right now as a quarterback, and he's about to get paid on an extension as a franchise quarterback, and he was the last damn pick of the draft. So you never know. But again, we did have other needs. But obviously the Niners saw something in him that they really like, and they really felt that we don't want him to get to free agency because now we're going to have to get into a bidding war to try to retain his service as an undrafted free agent. So they just took him with that 7th-round pick.
Yeah, this guy. I want to start by issuing an apology. You know what? Let me not hide behind the banner. I'm gonna pop myself up here and drop Tony down really quick. Let me issue an apology to this young man. I gave this young man so much shit when we drafted him. And then they started talking about, oh, he played with a busted ACL. He's got an ACL injury. I'm like, why the fuck are we doing? And I'm with Mariah. You're not going to contribute to the team this year. You're not likely to beat out Brock Purdy, of course. You're not likely to beat out Mac Jones. Maybe you come in here and compete with Tanner Mordecai for the 3rd quarterback on the team. And we know that the new rule that the NFL implemented because of the Niners, right? You get that emergency quarterback that doesn't count against your 46 active game day players and all that stuff, right? Could he come in here and be that guy? It's possible, yeah, right? And here's why I say I owe this kid an apology. You hear that he played on the busted leg all season long. Now, Tony, I corrected you when you said you think he threw for 30 touchdowns. I said 29. But what he did do was account for 31 touchdowns because he ran 2 of them in. Again, I want to emphasize that was on a busted leg. And he set a Hoosier record for 69.4 completion percentage. That's their entire, that's the school's record. This is a long existing college, and this guy has the highest completion percentage on a busted leg. He's 6'4", and everything that I love about Brock Purdy are things that this kid does well. All right, I'm talking about the layered throws. He throws with touch. He has he has the ability and often will stand in the pocket to deliver while knowing he's going to take a hit. There's the things that we love about Brock Purdy, right? Tony says he has a really good arm, right? This guy is someone that I think we're actually going to be impressed with as we get to see him. I know that they say he played the entire 2024 season on a torn ACL. I have to question the severity of it. How can you play and be mobile, run in 2 touchdowns on a torn ACL? I question the severity of it. Maybe it's a torn ACL. A tear is a tear, but not all tears are created equal, right? Is it completely severed? Is it just ripped up like my shoulder, right? My shoulder still works, but it's still got some tear inside of there, right? So the severity of it, maybe I kind of overreacted to. No, maybe. I am for sure. I mean, listen, we were talking about the 7th round. I was lit by then. I gave this guy hell. So I'm not going to sit here and beat around the bush. I gave this guy absolute hell, and he didn't deserve it, right? We should actually have been praising him for showing the heart and the tenacity to go out there and continue to play all season long while delivering 69.4% completion percentage. Now, this is a 6-year guy in college, started 46 games, okay? And here's the best part about him, right? And this is something that I also like about Brock Purdy. I think what I'm doing here is saving the best for last, right? His eyes and his feet are tied together. He can come off of his first read so quickly, and then as soon as he identifies the next target, he can shift and throw immediately. His eyes and his feet work hand in hand, no pun intended. And so it's an incredible thing to see. I think we're going to be very, very surprised with how good this young man can be when we actually start to see him out there in the field. So I owe him an apology. I'm going to say it again one more time. Young man Curtis, I apologize, and I'm actually looking forward to seeing you on the field. My draft grade at the time was an absolute F. I'm going to bump this one all the way up to a C. I'm going to bump it up to a C. Actually, I'm going to make it a C minus. It's going to be on my lowest grade of the night, but not because of the player and what I think he could become and develop into, only because of what Mariah said. He's not helping this team anytime soon if it's not for a significant slew of injuries, and I'm never going to wish that on the 49ers. So let me go ahead and be the first to say Mike Andrews was wrong on draft night. All right. So for those of you out there that don't think I ever take accountability or say when I'm wrong, eat that one. Huh? Eat that one. Here we go. All right. Let's keep it pushing. Anything else before we move on?
Nope.
No. Hopefully we make people excited to see this kid because I'm not seeing or reading that he's going to have to miss any time. I'm not seeing that he needs to do any recovery. Right. So again, all tears are not created equal. And he played the full season. So I want to see how it shapes out. All right. The next one here. This is our seventh round pick, and I think we have one more after this. The 49ers finally address the offensive line, ladies and gentlemen. All right. We finally go offensive line. And this young man, excuse me, is all right. God damn, I didn't realize. I forgot how long that. I got to get a shorter applause put in here. This young man is Connor Colby, pick number 249, seventh round pick from Iowa. Mariah, what do they feel? I mean, come on. They had to have been happy about us addressing the offensive line, right? Like, this has to be a good grade, right? You would think.
Chat was finally fired up that we hit that O-line. 91% loved it.
I'm gonna drop a
91.
bomb on that. Let's go, baby. All right. Tony, it wasn't a tackle. He's not a tackle, but the Niners go out there and get an experienced player who can challenge for some reps in the interior of the offensive line. Is a 50-game starter for the Hawkeyes, and most of them were at the right guard spot. That's what excited me the most. I'm going to shut up and let you go ahead and give your breakdown here.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Starting experience. His 4-year starter at Iowa. Played left guard, played left, right guard, right tackle throughout his career there. 6'6", 305, 310, physical. Great run blocker. A little struggle with the pass protection and his anchoring, but I mean, it's something that with technique and reps, hopefully he can correct and develop with Forster and his assistant head coaches. But listen, again, he's going to compete for either a right guard or left guard spot. I think they brought in Hennessy to compete with Brendel for the center spot. You have Nugent from the previous year, undrafted free agent. So there are options for competition. Zakel is still there. So with that being said, we're not going to take a tackle to have him sit because this kid's not – the rookie tackle's not starting over Trent, and I don't think he's starting over McKivitz. So with that being said, we install this guy, give him an opportunity to compete for a guard spot, throw him out there, see what he could do. And listen, you might have a new starter at left guard if Pooney doesn't want to switch or if they feel comfortable or if he feels comfortable on the left side. We don't know. They could flip-flop either way. But we potentially just could have found a starting left or right guard. Just like they found Pooney in the third round, they could have found him one here. Just because it's the seventh round doesn't mean everyone sucks and they're not good. People fall for reasons, right? You know, are they perfect at this? No, but they're really good at this. The guard that they drafted timed well. You know how they like their timing and their testing as far as short shuttle, 10-yard split, vertical. So it's there. So give them a shot, see what we can come out with.
You know, and falling is such a tricky word when it comes to the draft. Interior offensive linemen are probably valued less than running backs, right? Like when we get to the next pick, I was pounding the table for Seth McLaughlin, right? A starting graded prospect at center. He went undrafted, right? It's just the value of those positions. Teams know that these guys are going to be available later on, and so you don't overreach for those kind of guys. But if the Niners saw something in this young man, Connor Colby, it's like, hey, let's go out there and get him, right? And what are the Niners like in their offensive linemen? Position versatility. Again, most of his reps at right guard. He played left guard, and he even played some right tackle, right? The breakdown that I saw on him was discussing about how he's probably going to be best fitted for a zone-heavy run scheme. Tony, what kind of scheme do we run here? Are we a zone team? Like,
Yes.
is that what we do here? It is? Oh, shit. So the Niners actually knew what the fuck they were talking? Like, that's crazy to think, right? Like, oh, my God, right? They got a guy that can go in there and play a right guard, right? And now all of a sudden, if I'm not saying he's going to go out there and replace our starting right guard, but what if he does, right? And now what does that do for the position versatility along the offensive line now, right? All of a sudden, now we got a guy that can, a veteran, a proven NFL veteran that can move into other spots if we need him to, right? So if his strength is zone running, and we are a zone running team, there's a possibility he can come in here and compete. He might not be the day one starter, but what could he be down the road? And that's what you're doing in the draft, especially in the 7th round. You're not looking for a day one starter. If you happen to luck up and get one, great. Everyone's going to celebrate and sing the praises from the rooftops, right? But what if he is a year 2 starter or a year 3 starter? We have this guy's rights for the next 4 years. That's what's important here, to develop these guys and really, really give Chris Kocurek something to work with here. All right. I forgot to post this comment. I did have it starred. Mike, you cool with Rourke, right? Yeah, I am cool with him now. I wasn't at the time, right? But yeah, I am. I forgot to put that comment up there. But here's the reason I'm back in the starred comments. So we have this one here. The Niners addressed the offensive line again today, signing DJ Humphries. So DeMarcus is asking Mike, Tony, and Mariah, do y'all like the DJ Humphries signing? This is an experienced veteran. I don't think he's significantly old, right? What is he, 31 or something like that?
Yeah.
31 years old. He's got some knee issues, some lingering and chronic knee issues. But you know what? I'm going to shut up. I want to hear what your guys' thoughts are. Whichever one of you guys that want to go first, feel free to go first. But I want to hear your thoughts on this. And I'm only doing this now because we're talking about offensive linemen, not to take away from Colby at all. But we'll get back to him at the end of it.
Just me really quick before Tony gives the whole spiel. My little thoughts on it are that I'm happy with it. I don't know necessarily as a starter, but I mean, if not, definitely a great, much better swing tackle than what we have. So yeah, I'm definitely happy with this signing. And hey, look, they actually signed an O-lineman. Here we go.
Yeah, I see them as bringing them in as a competition piece for at least to start off with the swing tackle. And listen, if he plays and performs and that knee checks out to be back to what it was, and it could hold up and he's healthy, then he starts competing potentially with McKivitz. I mean, he was mainly a left tackle, I believe. At Arizona, a former team captain in Arizona, went to Kansas City last year, had a little issue with the hamstring. Missed a couple games for that. But listen, for what they're paying him on a one-year deal, you're taking a shot. You improve the depth of your offensive line now. I'm not willing to go all in and put everything in him as a starter, as a right or left tackle, or even to solidify that he's going to win the swing tackle spot. He's going to have to work for it, earn it, and show that he's back and healthy and that knee's in good shape. So we'll see. It's just a smart piece to add, though, right? I was on Terra Dome show earlier. We spoke about potentially Jeff Noteboom, who was a free agent, bringing in somebody with experience. Well, it was Humphries today. And you know what? He's experienced, too. He's 31. He's still young. But the question is, where's that knee at its recovery? And that's going to be the tell-all.
And well, so that's the thing. The last knee injury was 2 seasons ago, almost 2 years ago. And so it's not like the end of the world here, right? Yes, it's a reoccurring issue, but it hasn't been an issue in the last year. So I kind of like seeing that. And, you know, if this is a guy that can come in and maybe take the right tackle spot, right? We're sitting here worried about it, and the Niners are going to wait so that these signings don't count against the compensatory formula. The Niners care about their picks, guys. They care about their picks. Did they have their eyes on him the entire time? I'm willing to bet that they did. Right, but they're not going to go out there and do it, and it's going to count against the compensatory picks and all that stuff, right? Because maybe there's a chance that he could get some significant snaps. Or Trent Williams is getting old. Now you plug him over there on the left side, right? Maybe Trent Williams, because Trent Williams does not play all 17 games. That is when dandelions or daffodil, I don't know what the flower is, but when they die, they turn white, and you take them off and you blow, and they tell you to make a wish. What are those flowers called? Dandelions?
Dandelion, yeah.
Yeah, so they're out there, right? You can grab one of those things and blow them all day long and make a wish that Trent Williams going to play all 17 games for a season. It ain't going to fucking happen anymore. I'm sorry, not sorry, but it's cool to have a contingency plan, right? And that's what you do. You go out there and you get an established veteran that you know can do it. Pussy Willows. No, but you go out there and you get an established veteran that you know can go out there and do it and fill in for a game 2 for Trent Williams so that he can go out there and not have to be rushed back into the fray. Right? Or if it's a postseason type of injury, someone that you know knows the NFL and he is a starting caliber type guy. We got him today. Like, look at how late into the free agency market and all that stuff. Oh, Jesus. I'm seeing the comments. Mariah, you giggled, and I looked to the side. But you know what I'm saying? So you go out there and you go and get him today. I like the signing. I do like the signing. And let me go ahead and get back to pick number 249 for the Niners, Connor Colby, right? The one of the write-ups that I read on him was that he latches on in the run game, and he's very hard to get off of. Like, he grabs his defender, and he holds on to him. But when I started looking at the highlights, when I looked at the film and everything, you know what I was more impressed with? When he didn't have someone to latch on to, his willingness to get to the second level and just lay somebody out, right? Him doing that reminded me of one of my favorite 49ers offensive linemen in Alex Boone. Now, I'm not saying that he's Alex Boone, right? When we had Alex Boone, we were a power run scheme, right? So it's very, very different. It is run forward and run over anybody and everybody that's in your path, right? And that's why they called him the Rhino. Like, it was a very fitting nickname for him. But this young man does something very similar. Not to keep with the comparisons, but both those guys are 6'6", right? But here's the difference. Alex Boone was 330 pounds. This kid is a little over 300. But again, this is a zone scheme, not a power scheme, right? In the power scheme, I think you have to be a little bit heavier just so you can bowl people over and try to keep going. You don't need to have that kind of, for lack of a better term, girth in a zone scheme. I think actually they don't want it. We've talked about it a lot, where the Niners prefer lighter, or this regime, I should say, prefer lighter offensive linemen. You know, that's why they moved on from the tackle and Trent Brown that we had here for a guy in Mike McGlinchey. Right? It's like, look at the weight difference, right? You know, both tall guys, but look at the weight difference, right? They want to get lighter on that offensive line for the zone scheme. So I see that Alex Boone type of willingness to get to the second level in Connor Colby here. And he may not be a day one starter. He may not be a year one starter, but I really like this pick, and I'm going to give this pick an A. I know it, you know, it may not have been a great pick, but I'm going to give this one an A. Late, but I know, but I like it a lot. All right, and then we are down to our last pick of the draft here, ladies and gentlemen. And I didn't put it in the thing yet, but I have it here. The 49ers go with a wide receiver at pick 252, and Junior Bergen, wide receiver from Montana. What are your guys' thoughts on Junior? Mariah, let's go ahead and see what the fans had to say.
Cat wasn't too thrilled about this one. 59% for Bergen. I was kind of feeling that too at first, until I seen what he did as return man in college. And finally, we might have the answer to our special teams miseries of the last years and years and years of fucking this. Fair catch, every fucking thing, fair catch. That might be solved now, chat. All right, let's hope and pray. Go ahead.
I like it. I like it a lot, man. Tony, what were your thoughts on him here?
I see him as a strictly special teamer, a return guy. The only question I really have is, you're bringing him as a return guy, but he's over a 4.5 40. So where's the speed that he's going to be able to pull away on a return? Playing at the level of competition that he did, I think, where did he go to, Montana, or what college did he go to?
Yeah,
Montana, right?
Montana, yep. I didn't put that. Oh, it is on there. Okay.
No, you did. I just thought it was something else. At Montana, I mean, you know, 4.5, you might be able to break one, or however many he did with the 4.5 speed. But I mean, at the NFL, unless he's like perfect with his timing and setting up blocks and reading them and waiting for that alley to develop, 4.5 is tough. But hey, listen, they drafted him. He's sure-handed. He seems like he knows what he's doing. He's comfortable back there. That's what you want. You want someone who's comfortable, and we'll see what he could do. But not only did the 49ers get better on the defensive line and the defense, but they improved their special teams with a couple players as well in this draft. This being one, linebacker, Martin, corners, stuff like that, safety. So you're getting value not only on the defensive side of the ball, you're improving your special teams, and you're getting an offensive lineman late who can contribute as a potential starter. So, I mean, it's all positive, but, I mean, we'll see.
So I agree with both of you guys that this is going to be one of the returnmen for the 49ers, right? This guy is going to be someone that I think they're going to throw back there right away. And Kyle Shanahan even echoed those same sentiments when he was breaking them down. But here's the coolest thing I like about him, and here's why I think the Niners are going to try to use him that way. He doesn't have a ton of experience as a return man, right? But he did take a couple of them back to the house. But I think the most impressive thing on him is that he is a former running back turned wide receiver, right? So what that tells me is he's not afraid of contact. He's not afraid of contact, and his hands are a little bit better than what we thought going into it. Because if you're going to go from running back to wide receiver, well, you gotta be able to catch the damn ball, right? This reminds me of a couple of 49ers former picks. We've seen that running back turn wide receiver or wide receiver turn running back combo, right? They just seem to really, really like those kind of guys. I'm trying to pull up his return stats here, but I can't find them. Let me see if I can. Here we go here. He had a long, what year was that? He had a long of 72-yard return there, an 84-yard return there. The touchdown, he had 1, 2. So he doesn't have a ton of return experience, but I think that's what the Niners are looking for. Someone who, one, you have to be sure-handed to be a return man, whether it's a punt returner or a kick returner, right? Well, he's a wide receiver. That suggests
He had 8
shorthand.
career punt return touchdowns.
There you go. So that says wide receiver, sure hands, check mark for a return guy, right? You can't be afraid of contact. Former running back, check mark there, right? And then you did it in college. Now, like Tony said, it's just Montana, but still, that's going to bode well.
Mm-hmm.
All right? He's the best return guy the Niners have had on their roster since Dante Pettis. Here's the difference, though. When Kyle Shanahan got his hands on Dante Pettis, he was more impressed with the route running and the split times and the three-cone times and wanted to make him a pure wide receiver. Kyle's already come out and said, we think this guy is going to be our return guy. I'm not going to take that risk. Now, that doesn't mean he won't get any snaps at wide receiver. Doesn't mean that they won't try any trick plays with him or try to even put him in the backfield from time to time. But Kyle's already come out and said that he sees him as a return guy for the Niners and let his role expand from there. So I personally like the pick. I give this one a B. And one more thing I have on him. Everyone's talking about this 4.57 or 4.5 40 time. Maybe it's because of the level of competition, but the film didn't look like he was a 4.5 guy. He looked like he had a little bit more speed than that. It looked like he was a little bit more decisive. Maybe that's what it was. He just made a decision and went with it. And so maybe that comes off as, beating angles and all that stuff. But he looked a little bit faster, in my opinion, than what that 40 time suggests. And we've had Eric Crocker on, a guy who ran 40 times and talked about how he improved on them just from his stance and his get off, right? And so that's something that could be worked on. Some people run and play faster than what their 40 times suggests. And some people's 40 times are completely misleading. And they say, oh, look how fast this guy is. And they amount to absolutely nothing in the NFL. John Ross, right?
Danny Gray.
These are things that, right, Danny Gray. These are things that happen all the time. So don't just go off of that 40 time. All right. Overall, let's talk about overall grades, and we're going to get out of here. We don't have to focus on a specific player or anything like that. Let's just talk now with the three of us. What are your overall thoughts on the draft? And if you had to give a grade, letter grade, based off of what we know now, after the draft is over and after watching film and hearing everything that we talked about tonight, how are you guys feeling about the conclusion of this draft?
Go ahead, Tony.
Yeah.
Can you hear us, Tony? You there?
Everything just hold on.
Mic check.
Why is it doing it?
Uh-oh. Mariah,
Tony
you want
was
to go
electronics first? Again. Sure.
Or, if you want, I'll go. Okay.
I would say if I were to have to give him a grade overall, I really do like the first handful of picks. They all fit needs. But the fact I still keep coming back to fact that we didn't address O-line earlier. But I would rather them draft a position of need that was available instead of reaching for an O-lineman if their guy wasn't available at the time, right? So obviously we got to see them all play and it all work out. But just looking at the draft overall right now, I would say a B minus, C plus, sitting at around there. And I'm
Very
still
nice.
pissed off about the quarterback.
Yeah. Still pissed off.
I don't apologize, okay?
Yeah, no. That's absolutely fair. That is absolutely fair. I'm not mad at that at all. I'll go next, and we'll save our resident GM for the last and final grade of it. And again, guys, it's way too early to give a final grade on this draft class, right? That takes years. But we're just talking about what we see right now. I love that not only did they go after positions of needs and not just say, oh, well, we need depth at this position, so we're going to take one even if we don't like him because he's the best one available at that position. When they couldn't go out there and get that offensive tackle because the Raiders took 2 in a row, right? They pivoted and they went somewhere else. That was also a position of need, but someone that they thought might be able to help a little bit more. I think that the first wide receiver may have been the worst pick of the entire draft. And if that's what you're doing, based off of need, based off of how soon they're going to be able to contribute and all that, it's tied for that wide receiver and Rourke, in my opinion. But when you step back and look at the grand scheme of things and what they're looking to build here, this team is always looking to build comp picks, right? What did we do with Sam Darnold? We brought him in here. He barely touched the field as a starter. And then they flipped him, and he goes and signs, and we get a little compensatory pick for him and things like that, right? All of a sudden, it's like, man, can they do the same thing with Mac Jones, something that Tony touched on earlier? I think this team executed this draft in a really, really good way. And then you go and look at what they did after the draft. That also contributes to this, right? They were still able to go out and get offensive linemen. They were still able to go out and get more running backs and things like that. People that they liked. That were available that they didn't have to spend draft picks on. Overall, I'm going to give this one a solid B. I'm going to put it right there at an 85. I'm excited about the draft. I can't wait to see how things go going forward, and it's going to be a fun year. I think the preseason is going to be a lot of fun evaluating this talent that they went and acquired. Tony, the floor is yours.
I'm going to go with a B minus for this draft. It's too early to put like a serious grade on it. I'm just doing it like just what I read and watched throughout the whole process and after the draft, like really researching now that I know who we have. We're not going to know what this draft is going to. We're not going to grade this draft until 3 years from now, so we know we have who's getting extended and stuff like that. But I would say it's a solid B minus, B, even B. And I'm happy with it. I feel like they identified the issues of their defense. They went out and addressed them. They became faster, more physical, bigger on the defensive line, speed across the board, whether it's at a slot corner, a safety, and a linebacker. So, they identified their issues, they upgraded it, and that's what you really want. I mean, you want to see them saying, shit, we need this. Let's go get it. And, that's where I'm at.
I put up the super chat here, and I have no idea if Sean is being serious or not.
Oh, he is being serious. He is being yes. There's a Mike Shanahan on that.
God. Oh, but not the one.
Oh, not the Mike. Oh, you know what, man? What
Sean. I know. That's why I was like, it's Sean. It can't be like.
Right. Like I'm thinking he's pulling my leg, but he got me here. Sean, for those of you, we might turn this into an audio podcast. For those of you who can't read the comments, Sean Shepard gave a super chat here. Oh, that's the second one. I got to put a bomb on it. His second super chat of the night. He says, I heard Rourke was coached by Mike Shanahan. And I'm sitting here like, the fuck? Like, what? Like, Mike Shanahan doesn't coach college. He's what is he talking about here? But it's a different Mike Shanahan, according to Tony. See, I didn't know that. So there's a Sean. There's a Mike Shanahan in Indiana.
I don't know if he's I don't know what his role is.
Maybe from high school. Maybe from high
I
school.
don't know, but there is a Shanahan on that staff. Whether if he's a quarterback coach or coordinator, I don't know. But
That's funny.
Okay, wait. All right, never mind. I'm going to get down a rabbit hole here. I am Googling.
I thought he was just saying that because, like, that's why we drafted him, because Mike Shanahan told Kyle to do so, you know?
Wait. Okay, yes, there is a Mike Shanahan. Okay, all right. There is a young Mike Shanahan in Indiana, the Hoosiers. He is the offensive coordinator and wide receivers coach.
Wow.
Okay, all right. So technically, Sean is right. I'm not going to argue with him. Wow, man. The more you know, man, the more you know, because I did not know that. That is funny. All right. That's all I got. That's all I got, man. We hope you guys enjoyed the show. Hopefully it was informative. Hopefully it changed your mind about some of these guys that you were down on. All right. Hopefully it gives you guys something to look forward to in the preseason and in the future of the 49ers. Like Tony said, be mindful, guys. Give it 3 years to see how these guys are, and we're going to go from there. That's going to do it for us tonight. You guys want to plug anything before we get out of here? You want to promote anything before we go? Anyone? No? All right. Well, we're going to get out of here.
Subscribe. We out.
There it is. All right, prepare for glory, anticipate pain, but always remain faithful.
Remain faithful.
See you guys next time. Peace.
We all gas, no brakes, pumped up, no fakes. We spinning, we winning, we high stakes. We never miss, we all makes. Look at us dudes trying to prove, bringing you news with nothing to lose. Mike, Nick, Tony, Wayne, Method Man, we bring the pain. Hey. See, I'ma confess it. We under the pressure. If you looking to find us, we them nothing but Niners. Nothing but Niners. We nothing